An opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. Please be seated. Order, honorable members. The first item on today's order paper is questions addressed to ministers in Cluster 1, Peace and Security. There are 4 supplementary questions on each question. Parties have given an indication of which questions their members wish to pose a supplementary question on, and adequate notice was given to parties for this purpose. This was done to facilitate the participation of members who are connecting to the sitting through the virtual platform. The members who will pose supplementary questions will be recognized by the presiding officer. In allocating opportunities for supplementary questions, the principle of fairness, amongst others, have been applied. If a member who is supposed to ask a supplementary question through the virtual platform is unable to do so due to technical difficulties, the party whip on duty will be allowed to ask the question on behalf of their member. When all supplementary questions have been answered by the executive, we will proceed to the next question on the order paper. The first question has been asked by the Honorable M.P. Peacock to the Honorable Minister of Police. The Honorable Minister. The Honorable Minister of Police is on the virtual platform. I'm told, honorable members, that the minister is connected. He's just having difficulties with one of the devices that he's using. Let's just be patient and give him some time. The Honorable Minister of Police, can you hear us?
Chairperson, I do hear you now.
Please proceed, Honorable Minister.
I'll be answering the first question because I didn't get your first deliberation towards me. I was just frozen. Thanks, Chair.
Okay. Yes, we're busy with the first question, Honorable Minister. You may proceed.
Thank you. The South African Police Service SAPS Act of 1995, Act number 68 of 1995, is being amended to strengthen the functioning of the Community Policing Forum CPFs and to ensure the provision of adequate resources to enable the optimal functioning. The SAPS is currently investigating a proper funding model for the CPFs, and progress in this regard will be reported in due course as we are progressing. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I now recognize the Honorable Peacock.
Thank you, Minister, for the response. My question or my follow-up question would be, ensuring effective and well-resourced CPFs, it requires that the SAPS conduct an audit of the state of the SAPS or of the CPFs across the country. This may take the time and the resources. However, has SAPS conducted the audit on the state of the CPFs across the country? If not, will the SAPS consider undertaking such an audit? I thank you.
The Honorable Minister. The Honorable Minister.
I hope I'll be audible, and because the member was breaking quite badly. But Chairperson, the SAPS can conduct the audit around the country, but as it stands, out of 1,158 police stations in the country, almost all police stations have functioning CPFs, bar 3 to 5, only less than 5 that are not. What we just need to do is to finalize what we have started to find the ways of making sure that they are assisted with any form of assistance, not necessarily the financial assistance. And that has been put, some people already have been given the task to work on that, and they'll be reporting back this month in the MINMEC of the South African Police Service, MINMEC, that will be taking place in Bloemfontein this month. So from there on, we will be in position to know exactly what is supposed to be done, working to assist these CPFs around the country. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The next supplementary question is to be asked by the Honorable Ter Blanche.
Thank you, Chairperson. Minister, the Civilian Secretariat for Police Services' main aim should be to enhance proactive and reactive policing outcomes by mobilizing community support. What is the rationale then to move CPFs and community patrollers to the CSPC while the SAPS is responsible for this function within their budget allocation?
The Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. There have been a complaint from the community we serve to say, if all resources are in the hands of the police begin to bar and prevent the CPFs doing their work. Let's make an example. They say maybe if the police are to face the discussion that they don't like, you might not find the transportation of the CPF to the police stations. So there is a complaint to say police would not love to facilitate and give money and resources to the people that oversee them. So it's important that when it goes to the Secretariat, it will enhance their independence, it will enhance the working of the CPF and together with the Secretariat. So it seems to be out of the demand of the communities themselves to move there. We'll have to follow that, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Shembeni.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, the violent nature of the crimes committed and the fact that the violence is organized and coordinated somewhere, and the general belief amongst the people that most of those involved in committing these crimes are protected and aided by the police themselves, put the lives of many community members involved in policing forums at risk. What sort of measures have you put in place to ensure that community members involved in fighting crime are protected, when the reality is that key SAPS members are themselves involved in committing these crimes? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister.
Well, Chairperson, there are those allegations of the members of the South African Police getting involved in the crime. Some of that has been proved to be correct because there are members of the South African Police Service that are in prison. For instance, with the last crime stats for the last 3 months, 46 members of the South African Police were arrested or were chased away and expelled from this organization. Indeed, it's true that some members of the CPF and members of the community out there, they do raise the issue to say sometimes working with the police it's dangerous, or with some of the police in some stations, it's dangerous because they go back to report it to the very perpetrators to say where did they get that information. But many other members of the community, together with the members of the CPF, they enjoy working with the police because they can see the results as those police and police structures get the information to go and implement it to arrest those people. The question that the Honorable Shembeni is asking is the question that we're all battling with. What do we do to protect the members of the CPF from that kind of unscrupulous police that they put them in danger? But it's a part of the research and a part of the thing that we are discussing going forward together with the very same members of the CPFs. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Sheikh Imam.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Honorable Minister, you've just indicated that almost all police precincts have CPFs and neighborhood watches. How effective is this, given the fact that violence, particularly gender-based violence, is on the increase, and yet we have CPFs, neighborhood watches and things working in collaboration with the South African police services, but the levels of crime are increasing? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister.
Indeed, the level of crimes are not accepted, but it's not true that all the CPFs and the structures the Honorable Member has mentioned, like Neighborhood Watch, is not working. There are areas where it's working very well. One has been receiving those reports as you move around to say, here we work very well with the police. Here we work very well with the communities that will come from the police. But we'll have to expand that. We'll have to make sure that every corner and every police station, the funding, CPF, we must remember that originally CPFs have been there as volunteers, was the structure that is volunteering. But we are taking it to cognizance now to say that they will have to be assisted with some form of resources. That's why we're doing towards that. We believe that once the relationship is better and good, it will happen. Chairperson, there are stations out of 1,158 that will be zero in report of murder, would be zero in report of some kind of criminality. And we'll find that communities are quite involved and working very close with the police. That's the model that we should push, that every station must have functional, better relationship between the community and the police management through the CPF and other community structures that have been mentioned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, we will now proceed to question number 42 that has been asked by the Honorable A.G. Whitfield to the Minister of Police. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. The South African Police Service Management has taken the following steps in improving the performance of 10-111 call centers. One, the SAPS is in the process of finalizing the advertisement of posts for the appointment of interns in 2022-2023 to improve the administrative support functions at the 10-111 call centers. In addition, demands for the appointment of additional interns in 2023-2024 have been identified and are in process of consideration. Two, the utilization of personnel from police stations and units within the provinces is being considered as an interim mechanism to address personnel shortages at the 10-111 call centers. The consideration also includes earmark provision for overtime. Three, training and development deficiencies at the 10-111 call centers will be addressed through the rollout of 10.1 learning program and training the trainer workshop. This will be implemented as from 6th March 2023. 4, in order to enhance command and control at 10.1 centers, a total number of 10 posts were advertised and filled through the SAP's post-promotion processes. 5, to address current funded vacant position, a total number of 98 posts have been identified and will be advertised and filled with effect from the 1st of May. The question answer is that in 2023, depending on the revision and outcome of the work study investigation that has already commenced, the steps will earmark the allocation of personnel to 10.1 court in line with the staff complement to be proposed through the work study investigation and those positions that are existing now. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Whitfield.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Over and above the 10111 call centre dysfunction, telephone lines at the actual police stations are not even working. Last year, the DA conducted research which revealed that only 44% of the 270 police stations which we phoned actually answered their calls at all. More worryingly, 40% of these 270 police stations had faulty numbers or were simply not operable. So even if the 10111 call centres were operating optimally, by the sounds of the Minister's plan, they won't be, they wouldn't be able to even get hold of almost half of police stations in order to respond to a crime. In his State of the Nation address speech, President Ramaphosa said, and I quote, "We will use our competitiveness in call center operations to support the proper functioning of the 10111 helpline, partnering with the private sector," end quote. Does the Minister support a partnership with the private sector to turn the situation around at the 10111 centres, as alluded to by the President in his SONA address? And by when can South Africans expect the situation to be turned around? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Minister.
Chairperson, the issue raised by the Honourable Member on the telephones that are not working, sometimes that's not the police issue per se. It's our sister organization that we work with that are supposed to look after those. Even when you have reported, you would not get the response that you wish you have from that sister department. That's the first one. The second one major problem, the load shedding has a serious negative impact in working of those telephones. Not only that, including the radios at the station, sometimes because there is a load shedding, they would not work properly. Thirdly, even the cell phones that they are given mostly to the station commanders and to the sector officers, sometimes they are not charged because there is no electricity, and they are not in response because there is a problem of signals. But when it comes to the officers that are there as the people that's supposed to respond, that in the vans, we give them cell numbers, as we have done recently in Khayelitsha, where all vans that are patrolling are having these numbers. Coming to what has been announced by the President, that is in process. We have advertised the post, and we are filling the posts that exist. The posts that will be advertised will be the extra, some them intense, some are permanent, to make sure that the numbers that are short are filled by both permanent and the staff that we intend. Working with the private sector is exactly what is happening now. we share them some other resources like going with them when they're in operation. We'll share their resources to make sure resources like drones and those that for communication that we're able to work with. That's what we're doing at the present moment, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Marekwa.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. Can the minister provide a breakdown on how the 10,000 newly trained police constables will be deployed to different provinces, districts, and other units within the SAPS? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Chairperson, the present situation of the police that have just came out of college in December, most of them will be absorbed in the units that are specializing, including those that will be in communication. As you could see, that some of the police from the station that are in the communication will be put in this 10-111, others will stay at the station, and those that will be put in the 10-111 centers will have to be replaced. But when you work in the all number that has been released from college, 10,000 of them, 4,000 of them will be going to POP, and 357 of them will be going to the unit that deals with the women, which is FCS, and some will be going to the specialized units like TRT, and indeed, some will be sent to the 10-111, as it has been explained that already 10 of those have been put on the commanding level at this 10-111, so that when you put the new ones, new employed and the intent, the command and control is improved. We hope that the less number that will stay back will go to the police stations, with the hope that the 10,000 that will be intake this year, starting March, April, most of them then will go and enhance the stations so that they are in the station, they are able to respond when they are called by these 10-111 centers to respond to those cases. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Shembeni.
Thank you. That will be taken by Honorable Vusikoza. Thank you, Chair.
Ngibonge sihlalo ngibingelele. Ngifisa nje ukuthi ngibuze lapha kuNgqongqoshe ukuthi njengoba sazi ukuthi abantu emphakathini jikelele sebelahle ithemba ngokusebenza kwale nombolo yamaphoyisa ayi-10-111, sizwile enza iphakamiso la ezokuthi bazokwenza lokhu nalokhu, siyazi ukuthi kuyifiso nje nephupho. Umbuzo ke uthi uzoqinisekisa kanjani ukuthi ithemba leli abantu asebelahlekelwe yilona liyabuya kokuqala? Okwesibili, uzoqinisekisa kanjani ukuthi nakuba usungenile kule nombolo, siyazi ukuthi incingo igcina ilahlekile noma ungafikanga kuleso station samaphoyisa othunyelelwe kusona, uzoqinisekisa kanjani ukuthi uhlelo lolusha lwe-technology, ubuchwepheshe bale mihla namhlanje luyasetshenziswa ukuqinisekisa ukuthi abantu bayasizakala, ngoba lolu hlelo olukhona njengamanje lwezingcingo into endala nje engasebenzi ehlohlozayo.
Honourable Member, your time is now expired. Thank you. The Honourable Minister.
Ngibonge kumfoka Khoza.
Order, Honourable Members. Order. Please, order, Honourable Members. Please proceed, Honourable Minister.
Chairperson, I thank the Honourable Member, Khoza. So, le eyokuthi abantu balahle ithemba jikelele, no akunjalo. Bakhona abantu abasathembile kulolu hlelo. Ingakho mawuvakasha kulezi indawo kakhulu lezi ezinkulu njengako Midrand uyawuthola ukuthi ingcingo zakhona zikhala njalo. Nathi sike sikwazi ukuvakasha, sikwazi ukuyiphendula, sikhulume nabantu. Yebo, kube khona ukwehla, ngiyavumelana naye, kwethemba, kodwa akuphelile nya. Yiloko ke sifuna ukukuvuselela ukuthi kusetshenziswe ngendlela eyiyo ukuthi ithemba livuke libuye bantu. Lokho ukuthi sophendula kanjani, enye yezinto esizayo ukuthi amaphoyisa ande ey'teshini ukuze akwazi ukuhamba ayobheka lezo zinto. Lo 10,000 ofikile no 10,000 olandelayo uzokwazi ukusisiza lokho. Nalezi moto ezingaphezu kwe3,000 esilindele ukuthi sifike kulezi nyanga ezimbili zizokwazi ukusisiza ukuthi amaphoyisa akwazi ukuphendula lokho. Kwi technology le yakhuluma ngayo bazokwazi ukuthi bathole ingcingo abantu abasebenza kulezi moto ukuthi bakwazi ukuthinteka noma ngabe bekuphi. Lokhu kwe technology siyaqhuba, siyasebenza nophiko lwethu lozobuchwepheshe ekuthiwa i-TMS nabanye abantu abasebenza ngobuchwepheshe ekuyinkampani ezizimele ukuthi sokwazi ukuthi lolo hlelo siliqedele lukwazi ukuphumelela libuyelwe nayo ithemba nabantu bakithi babuyelwe nayo ithemba. Siyabonga, Sihlalo.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Majosi.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Minister, after you have told us about all the challenges that you are facing within the SAPS call centers, what is the department's plan in place to create satellite SAPS in all call centers?
The Honorable Minister.
Chairperson, the department's plan to first is to fix the proper working of
Order, honorable members, there's another member also on the platform. Can I ask the ICT just to disconnect that member, please? Please proceed, Honorable Minister.
Is to fix the problems that we are facing, those problems that the member talks about that we have pronounced and mentioned, is to fix those and able the centers to function properly, to be able to reach all the stations, and those stations to be able to respond to the nearest crime scene that is there. But also we are working at the places where the station has become too far, because, Chairperson, some of the growth of the communities, some they grow away from the police stations that they exist there, and might take time to build the new police station. We do try to put extra mobile police station on those areas so that people can be able to report, but also police can be able to respond quicker. Those places, we work together with the CPFs and the police management and the secretariat to identify those places. This year, we have allocated 20 of those mobile vans to be around the community. And next year, again, we allocate 20 so that you are trying to be closer to the community and be able to respond quickly. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, we will now proceed to question number 35 that has been asked by the Honorable Ndlozi to the Minister in the Presidency. I've been informed that the Deputy Minister will answer questions on behalf of the Minister. The Honorable Deputy Minister.
No, thank you very much, House Chair. We would like to emphasize that crime prevention and crime detection is a primary responsibility of SAPS crime intelligence, to an extent that crime has now reached a level of impacting on national security. The state security agents and other security cluster departments are cooperating to share resources and experiences to fight the high crime rate through joint operations. The State Security Agency provides early warning on potential threats aimed at the lives of persons living in South Africa. Such intelligence is either liaised with crime intelligence and provided to law enforcement agencies such as SAPS and Hawks, as the situation may demand. Due to the heightened political killings in KwaZulu-Natal, an integrated multidisciplinary task team was launched in 2018 under the auspices of NetJoins to combat and subsequently investigate planned killings and assassinations. The State Security Agency is part of this initiative. Since its establishment, the task team has investigated 226 dockets, which resulted in 251 arrests. Concrete plans are afoot to ameliorate and eventually uproot this phenomenon. The agency will continue to provide forewarning to law enforcement authorities on any planned political killing, including those related to assassinations of traditional leaders, political killings, and other prominent individuals in society. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. I now recognize the Honorable Ndlozi.
It's so dramatic, this one, Chair. I don't know why it's even
No,
there.
on-
Chair, I'm going to stand in for Commissioner Ndlozi. Must I come to the podium as well?
Oh, you,
No.
I think you
So
look,
move
you
there,
look, you look
Chairperson.
quite comfortable where you are, Honorable Member. You can proceed from there.
Thanks very much, Deputy Minister. I think you are just taking us to confidence that you are going to be a minister. That's why we are approaching us there. Okay. So we are waiting. So the question, Chairperson, is that can you take the country into confidence on where we want specifics? Because these political killings, Deputy Minister, is not stopping. I can hear you stating that you have a plan, a clear plan, especially in KZN, but the political killing is taking place everywhere in the country. So where do you have a specific plan to combat these assassinations, particularly against prominent persons? Samba sisha overlo every day. Can you just clarify that one? Where is the plan? A specific one. Otherwise, we're not going to get that ministerial post. Thank you, Chair.
The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thanks very much, House Chair. You will recall that in 2018, that the Interministerial Committee task team was also established by the President to immediately emphasize on issues of political killings in KwaZulu-Natal. The mandate of that committee has now been expanded to Eastern Cape, to areas of Mpumalanga and areas of Gqeberha in particular, and areas of Gauteng. So the work is underway of that committee, and I think a lot of progress is being made to identify the hotspots around issues of political assassinations on political killings. Thank you, Chair.
The next supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Adebe.
Thank you, House Chair. I've just arrived. DM, the appreciation is that the State Security Agency at least is providing intelligence brief to law enforcement agencies to act on these briefs. Just in an overview, DM, please reflect on the coordination and collaboration of the agency with other law enforcement agencies in the fight against crime, including this assassination. Thank you.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thanks, Honorable Hadebe. To an extent that the levels of crime in the country are impacting on national security and also undermine the principles that govern national security in terms of Section 198 of the Constitution. We have initiated a process, Honorable Hadebe, to interact with crime intelligence in provinces. Beside us being a co-chair of NetJoint, we co-chair Prof Joint, but also we initiated a process where we interact with crime intelligence in the Western Cape. We've met with Western Cape. We've been to Eastern Cape to see how best do we coordinate and share resources on each areas of hotspots. We'll be going also to other provinces because our view, we think that we need to deal with these issues of high levels of crime because they impact on national security, as I referred to areas of Section 198 of the Constitution. Thanks, Chair.
The next supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Mazoni.
Thank you so much, House Chairperson. Deputy Minister, given the fact that there's been a notable increase of political violence and assassinations across the country, most noticeably and seriously in KZN, we must now look to the Moroni Commission that released a 423-page document with findings and recommendations. I have to note that none of these recommendations have in fact been implemented. So we need to ask a very simple question. Why waste taxpayers' money on a commission of this size and this nature and this importance if the recommendations are not being implemented? What do you think the reasons of the non-implementation are? Is it simply a consequence of the divisions that exist within the State Security Department? Or is it the fact that we just don't have the capability to implement these recommendations?
Honorable Deputy Minister.
The implementation of the Meorane Commission recommendations are not the responsibility alone of the state security. You will be aware that the leadership of KZN through the former Premier did explain some of the constraints. As we leave Eastern Cape, we'll go to KZN. Part of the interaction with the stakeholders in KZN within the law enforcement agencies work to interact how best do we implement the Meorane commissions to an extent that they help to deal with political killings and political assassination. Thank you very much.
The last supplementary question will be asked by Nkosi Kebekulu.
Honorable Chairperson, I'll take the question on behalf of Inkosi.
Order, honorable members.
Ngizalwa inkosi mina, into yakwethu le, into yamakhosi le. Ngihleli ngegunya.
Honorable Schlengwa, will you just proceed with the follow-up question?
Honorable House Chair, on DM, ultimately the bottom line is that the investigative processes or lack thereof do not result in successful prosecutions. And nobody is caught, nobody goes to jail, and that creates a conducive and enabling environment for the assassinations to go on. So can we put it to you then that the intelligence services have failed outright up to now because we've got killings of councillors, Amakosi, Izinduna, MPs, and Nama celebrities, right? On top of that's the general crime for all South Africans. So we seated here now, none of those families have received justice. So what assurance do we have now that the interventions in place will resolve that problem? Because up to now, people have been killed and nobody's gone to jail.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
I can assure you, Honorable Shengwa, that part of these engagements with crime intelligence is precisely informed by your consent. I must indicate that if you look at some of the work that has been done, for example, the issues around Amakosi, the issues around traditional leaders, it's not just they are targeted because they are traditional leaders. Some of them because they are councillors, they are targeted as councillors. So those political killings, there's a lot of complications around them. And therefore, I think that work of the task team has worked. But I must indicate that the role of state security agency is to collect intelligence and share that intelligence with law enforcement agencies that have the capacity to arrest. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. Honorable Deputy Minister, you can now take up your seat again. Thank you for gracing the podium. Question number 15 has been asked by the Honorable M. Modise to the Minister of Home Affairs. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. May I be allowed to mute my video because where I am, reception is very precarious.
Please proceed, Minister.
Thank you. Honorable Member, any person within the borders of the Republic of South Africa is entitled to an identity document of some form or another. The problem of not being able to get an identity document in one form or another is not confined to people originating from other countries. The difficulty is sometimes and quite often also experienced by South Africans themselves because of the difficulty of giving requisite information. It is a well-known fact that the late registration of birth, or LRB, is a very involving and difficult process, meaning if you have at least more than 30 days or even more so, 1 year after you were born. Officials have to delve into archives to get information, and you are aware that our archives are all manual. It's only now that we are digitizing them. It is for this reason that Home Affairs has established a policy that people must take birth certificate, less than 30 days or less after birth. If you do it after that, then problems start. And in order to help people, we are trying to open Home Affairs offices in hospitals where birth is taking place. But furthermore, Honorable Member, the situation is compounded the fact that in South Africa, we have got 3 databases of human beings found in South Africa. The first one is the National Population Register. It registers birth, marriage, death, ID, and travel documents for South Africans only. Then we have got another system called NIIS, or National Immigration Identification System. This one registers refugees and asylum seekers. Unfortunately, it is not able to register their birth, their death, or marriage. The last one is the system called VAS or VAS, Visa Adjudication System. This registers people who arrive in South Africa via any of the 17 visas or permits. It is only 2 weeks ago that government approved a bill, the National Identification Registration Bill, for public comment. This bill seeks to register all people found within the Republic at any one time in one database, which is going to be called NIS or National Identification System, without necessarily changing their nationality. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable M. Mudise.
Thanks, House Chair. I'll take the question for Honorable Mudise. Thanks, Minister. With the challenge with the lack of identity documents for this national denies them their rights to citizenship and to enjoy the benefits of being a citizen. The reality is that this may not be an easy matter to deal with. Will the Department of Home Affairs consider engagements with countries of origin of the affected individuals to address this problem, Minister? Thanks, House Chair.
Thank you. The Honourable Minister.
We have already done so, Chairperson. 2 weeks ago, we met with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugee, the resident coordinator of United Nations, UNICEF ambassadors of about 8 countries which are known to be sending countries. One of the issues discussed was this issue of documentation after a child has been born in South Africa, and we are busy developing that. On Monday, I also have a 3-hour meeting with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugee to discuss this very same issue. So it is being taken care of. Thank you.
Honourable members, some of you are conversing very loud. Honourable Van der Merwe, I can hear everything you're saying. And it makes it difficult for me to follow what the minister is saying because the connection is not very good. The next supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mulder.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. Considering that we should remind ourselves that the Department of Home Affairs is the custodian, protector, and verifier of the identity and status of citizens and other persons resident in South Africa, and also controls, regulates, and facilitates immigration and the movement of persons through the ports of entry. We should ask ourselves, if we consider the fact that the department is currently sitting on a backlog of 56,000 across all visa categories, and they're only expecting to clear the backlog by June 2024. My question to the Honourable Minister would be, if the Honourable Minister would agree that the department has failed its mandate. Thank you, Chair.
The Honourable Minister.
No, definitely no, Chairperson. What the Honourable Member is talking about, the visa backlog, is what every country accumulated. It's not only South Africa. During COVID, because there was no international travel. In fact, there is a question here, which I was going to add, because the Honourable Member brought other type of visas that delayed. we have to close certain services in terms of disaster regulations. That's why we have got a backlog. Now, the issue of 2024 is if we work in a straight line now, if we don't change anything, but we are changing it. Number one, we have to do this adjudication, and they are all legally. They've just started work this morning with training, and on the 1st of April, they start the real work. But we have also brought
Order, honorable members, order. We do have a difficulty.
help from the provinces where they are doing, they are helping. Chairperson, can I go on? I thought you were.
No, honorable minister, order. Honorable minister, the connection is very bad. We can hardly hear your response. We do have the deputy minister in the house. If you would agree to it, we can ask you to liaise with the deputy minister and the deputy minister can respond. Honorable Papu.
Chair, I just wanted to clarify. I thought other parties were informed. There was a physical cabinet in Twan. The arrangement was that the ministers will answer virtually because they only finished the cabinet at 2. It was a physical cabinet.
Yes.
And that's why the deputy ministers are here. In case of this, like this one,
Yes.
deputy ministers will be answering.
Yes.
So that was communicated to various parties.
Order, honorable members, order. Order.
That's the arrangements we made and it was communicated to various parties.
Thank you. Order, honorable members. Now, why are you getting so excited? Why are you getting so excited, honorable members? The minister is
Chairperson.
trying his best. I have not recognized you yet.
Oh.
He's trying his best to answer a follow-up question. And we're having a technical difficulty. So the deputy minister is here so that he can just pick up where the minister left off and respond to the follow-up question. That's not so difficult. Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Let us make it very clear that the department has not failed in handling. Yes, I'll stand up. Thank you. The department has not failed in handling the visa backlog. The visa backlog is a global phenomenon emanating from COVID-19. You will remember that all countries had to delay the process of issuing visas as there was no travel between countries. That backlog we are now dealing with. We have even gone to the extent of enhancing the team that is dealing with those particular visa backlog. And we are adding additional capacity and looking at other systems of doing so. So the answer is the department has not failed. This is a global phenomenon and we are handling the situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. The next follow-up question will be asked by the Honorable Thring.
Thank you, House Chair. Minister, Mr. Alpheus Mhlangu, the Department of Home Affairs' Deputy Director General of Immigration Services and Customs, said in a radio interview that as a result of the new interministerial regulations, all of the benefits of South Africans pertaining to hospitals, schools, and the issuing of IDs to Zimbabweans will apply. Now, can the minister confirm whether this is indeed the case, and if yes, was a socio-economic impact or risk-benefit assessment conducted? If this is not the case, what is the current interministerial status with Zimbabwe? Thank you.
The Honorable Deputy Minister.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson. I would firstly like to make it quite clear that we do not have Mhlanga as a DDG immigration. Our current acting DDG for immigration services is Mr. Yusuf Simons. So I'm not sure where the member is getting that particular information. The only person that we know to be working with Mhlanga is from the Department of Education. Probably is referring to the spokesperson of the Department of Education. We do have an MOU with the Department of Education that has to deal with learners who do not have the necessary documentation. Part of our work in that regard is the deployment of mobile units which go to schools to make sure that learners do not leave school for them to get identification document. Thank you.
Thank you. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Sheikh Imam.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Allow me to start off by commending this particular department because you set a world record that in 20 minutes from application, you've issued a visa for an international.
Order, honorable members.
For an
Honorable
international.
Sheikh Imam.
Yes, sir.
Honorable Sheikh Imam.
Yes, sir.
Honorable Sheikh Imam, you may switch off your video.
Okay,
All
I have.
honorable members.
Thank you very much, Chairperson.
No, I won't. Honorable Sheikh Imam, please switch off your video. It's causing a consternation here.
Thank you
Please
very much.
proceed, Honorable Sheikh Imam.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Allow me to commend the Department of Home Affairs. It
We can't
took
hear
them-
you, Honorable Sheikh Imam. Order, honorable
It-
members.
It took them exactly 20 minutes from the time of application to issue a visa, with no doubt at all. Over and above that, a person that did not have an ID for 22 years, in 2 weeks, Barrick Street Home Affairs with their assistant was able to provide an ID. The question is, Minister and Deputy Minister, what is the setbacks in terms of your IT infrastructure? And how are you intending to deal with that to expedite applications? Thank you.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Indeed, we have made great progress in how we offer services to the public. I'm happy that the honorable member has been one of the people who has heard about the good work that we are doing in pushing the turnaround times. This is as a result of investment in infrastructure, which we continue to do. This is the investment in new technology that we continue to do. This is as a result of the deployment of the mobile units, which we have been increasing over the past years. This is as a result of the partnerships that we have had with banks, where clients are able to go to banks and apply for services. We are now continuing to enhance our service offering, Chair, through the opening of offices in hospitals so that our people will be able to get birth certificates. We are in a partnership with the Department of Health. We are looking at an MOU of having our citizens getting death certificates also in the very same hospitals. So we accept the good work that we are doing, and we will continue to do more and invest more in infrastructure and technology to better our services.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. Order, honorable members. The next question has been asked, that is question number 5, has been asked by the Honorable Tebekulu to the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans. The Honorable Minister, I've been informed the Deputy Minister will answer the question on behalf of the Minister. The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Honorable House Chair, thank you very much. The information forwarded to your office appears to be inaccurate. The Minister is en route home from official visits abroad. It appears there were technical challenges in her travel, but the Minister was supposed to be in Parliament today. May I respectfully ask that the questions to the Minister or to the Ministry stand over to the next day of availability of the Minister in the House. Thank you, Chair.
Order, honorable members. Order. Honorable McPherson, why do you have your hand up?
Chairperson, if the point of a deputy minister is to be able to assist a minister, and the deputy minister cannot answer the questions on behalf of the minister, what is the point of having the deputy minister then? Secondly, the minister knew timelessly and was provided enough time to know that they would have to answer the questions. And the minister's inability to keep a diary should not become the problem of this House. So with respect, the deputy minister should be competent. And if they're not competent, then you know, the caucus of the ANC must deal with that. But really, it's not fair to say that no questions can be asked today. Thanks, Chair.
Honorable member, may I draw your attention to Rule 144 in the 9th edition of the Rules of the National Assembly. And it states as follows, Sub-Rule 1. A question for oral reply must stand over if the minister to whom it is addressed, A, so request either in the assembly when the question is called for reply, or by notice in writing to the speaker before the start of the question time on the day for which the question is scheduled for, or is on the question paper, and B, is not present in the assembly when the question is called for reply, and the question is not replied to by the relevant deputy minister or another cabinet minister on his or her behalf in terms of Rule 138 Sub-Rule 3. So that is the rule that I'm applying. We will make the necessary arrangement for the Honorable Minister of Defense to answer the question on another question day. And that will be dealt with not here, it will be dealt with in the appropriate forums. Honorable Schlengwa.
Oh, Chair, thank you very much. Whilst one notes the ruling you have made and you say it will be another forum, but the issue is, I know it's in the rules. I know the rules very well.
Honorable Member, please address me.
So, but the issue, Chairperson, is that none of the issues you have raised have followed that rule. That's the issue. And I hope that in saying you will deal with it in another forum, that will be considered, because the minister, one not being here, then there's an acting minister, that is standard protocol in cabinet. Somebody acts for the minister.
Honorable
And so
Member,
for
thank
the
you for your
deputy-
intervention.
And so
I
for
have
the
ruled on
deputy
the matter.
minister-
I have now ruled on the matter because we're taking up now
But
question time. I've made a ruling, Honorable Member, and we will deal with the matter outside of this forum. We are not going to speculate on either this or that. So that is the ruling, and I'm not going to change the ruling.
That's fine, Chair, if you can register the IFP's dissatisfaction with your ruling, since this is also our question.
Honorable Schlengwa, you can also take my ruling to the appropriate forum, which is in line with the rules also. Yes, Honorable Member.
Yes, Honorable Mkhalipi.
Honorable Member Kalipi.
Yes. Chairperson, as much as we know that you are reading us a riot act, which is the rule books, it's not fair, because today we had a chief's forum. None of this thing was communicated in the chief's forum. And again, Chair, we are running to tell us about the rule. Honorable Papo here just stood up and clarified some of the issues here. Now the deputy minister is available and the minister is not available. So we are not even helping the situation, but you are just tell us about the rule. That is not fair, Chairperson. We are here to work. So everyone must come and work. We're working here. We're not playing.
Thank you, honorable members. Honorable members. Order, honorable members. Honorable members, some of you have raised these points of order, members of the Chief Whips Forum, and also the Rules Committee and so forth. That question will be dealt with. We will now proceed to the question number 1.
Honorable Chair.
Yes, Honorable Groenewald.
Honorable Chair, firstly, just on a point of clarity, I accept your rule because it's within the rules. But what I want clarity on is, I want to know, does that mean the next question for oral reply, or for the next occasion where the security cluster questions will be asked again? And the reason I ask for that clarity, Honorable Chair, is there is quite uncertainty amongst military veterans, and they follow the program of Parliament, and they would also want clarity whether it's going to be the next occasion or only the next occasion for the cluster of security. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Groenewald will apply the relevant rule, and we will ensure that at the next question session, these questions are dealt with. I must add, honorable members, and some members have raised the point, it is always to the benefit of everyone if these type of arrangements are done beforehand. However, we cannot be stuck at this point because we will not get the reply. And we won't get the reply from a deputy minister either. It would have been correct for the minister's office to indicate that there's a problem. It could have been shared with all the chief whips, and it would have been unnecessary. But the rules make provision for this. There is, and the Honorable Groenewald has now indicated to ask the next question. Since the minister is not available, it's clear that the deputy minister is also not in a position to answer, right? So we will put both questions. Honorable McPherson, I listened to you, sir. You must learn the skill of also listening to others, especially the presiding officers. The same will apply to the question that the Honorable Groenewald has now indicated, that at the next question session, both those questions will appear on the order paper, even if it's in a different cluster, so that the minister can respond. Honorable Marais.
Chairperson, in the Department of Defense and Military Veterans, the Deputy Minister is responsible for military veterans. So he should be able to answer the military veterans related questions.
Honorable member, we have heard what the response was, and I've made a ruling in that regard. Honorable member.
House Chair, I mean, I can understand your ruling as it pertains to the question at hand. But the arrangements that we received, as was said by the Chief Whip, indicates here that the Deputy Minister will respond to questions on the virtual platform. So then what is the point of us getting these instructions about what will happen in the House if the Deputy Minister can choose to say that they can't answer? Surely, I mean, while you've made the ruling on the one question, we can't cancel all the questions pertaining to this portfolio.
Honorable members, we will deal with this matter outside of this forum, and we will ensure on the next question day, those questions receive the necessary attention. And in future, and I'll inform the speaker as well of this that has happened. In future, it is not an acceptable practice for this type of thing to occur. We would expect that the ministry is functioning properly and that they are prepared to when it comes to questions. I now move to question number 16, asked by the Honorable Nkosi to the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation. I'm informed that Deputy Minister will answer the questions.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. South Africa
Order, honorable members, order.
South Africa assumed the chairpersonship of BRICS on 1st January 2023 and intends, amongst others, to provide strategic leadership to the BRICS partnership during our tenure, in close consultations with other BRICS members, based on continuity from previous chairs and advancing also South Africa's own foreign policy priorities. South Africa's theme and priorities as chair of BRICS 2023 reflects a strategic focus of South Africa during its tenure, and Cabinet honorable members has approved the theme and priorities after an intensive consultation process that includes government departments, the South African chapters of the BRICS Business Council, BRICS Women's Business Alliance, BRICS Think Tank Council, and the BRICS Civil Forum to align our tenure as chair of BRICS with South Africa's national interests and, as earlier indicated, our foreign policy priorities. We assume this chairpersonship under the theme BRICS and Africa, Partnership for Mutually Accelerated Growth, Sustainable Development, and Inclusive Multilateralism. Honorable Chair, the theme emphasizes our vision of BRICS as a partnership of leading emerging markets and developing countries, providing leadership momentum, and solutions for global growth, sustainable development, and inclusion of the global South in the world system. Our team and priorities therefore reflect our principal position that we advance in partnership with others. And we need to emphasize, Honorable Chair, that in this regard, we dare not leave the African continent and the global South behind. The team informs our priorities as Chair of BRICS in 2023, namely, number one, the developing a partnership towards an equitable, just transition. Two, transforming education and skills development for the future. Three, unlocking opportunities through the African Continental Free Trade Area. Four, strengthening post-pandemic socio-economic recovery and the attainment of 2030 agenda on sustainable development. And five, strengthening multilateralism, including working towards real reform of global governance institutions and strengthening the meaningful participation of women in peace processes. BRICS members, honorable members, have expressed the unequal vocal and full support for South Africa as chair of BRICS in 2023 for its theme and priorities for the BRICS partnership. We do submit that this reflects the alignment of South Africa's strategic vision for the partnership with those of BRICS members and the broader global South. Thank you very much.
Thank you. May I now recognize the Honorable Nkosi for a follow-up
Chair-
question?
Chairperson, thank you very much. Will be taken by the whip,
Thank
duty
you.
whip.
Proceed.
Honorable DM, there are concerns regarding the slow pace on the question of the reform in the United Nations Security Council and the retreat in terms of the advancement of the agenda in the developing world. How will the chairing of BRICS nation by South Africa enhance the cooperation of the BRICS nation to accelerate the issues of the reform in the United Nations Security Council? Thank you very much.
Thank you. The Honorable, the Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much. I think, honorable members, I've given an indication that one of the key overarching priorities of our chairship is indeed the strengthening of multilateralism, which is pivoted obviously on working towards real reform of the global governance institution. And that obviously includes looking at both the United Nations General Assembly, UNGA, its role and relationship with the UN Security Council, the Isolani Consensus and the Surte Declaration, which inform the Common Africa position on the reform of the Security Council. And I think in this regard, we are engaging within BRICS. There is 2 members of the P5 of the United Nations Security Council that serves. And we do intend to engage both the People's Republic of China and the Russian Federation in relation to advancing the Common Africa agenda, so that we actually, Honorable Chairperson, ensure that the non-permanent membership gets to be expanded and engage in a concomitant process on the veto vote of those permanent members. But equally so, currently we only have 3 members of Africa, fondly referred to as the A3, that do participate and become the pen holders of the world peace and architecture. So I think we are confident that during our chairpersonship, we'll find more common ground in relation to the transform of UNGA and also the transformation of the Security Council. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next follow-up question will be asked by the Honorable Kwankwa.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Deputy Minister, are there any plans to use the period as Chairperson of BRICS to boost trade between BRICS countries and to also attempt to resolve the conflict between Russia and Ukraine? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Deputy.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I think one of the key priorities for our tenureship, it's found in the theme which speaks about BRICS and Africa partnership for mutually accelerated growth, sustainable development. That obviously emphasized the unity of purpose amongst a constellation of developing countries, most of who are leading emerging market players, to ensure that growth do shift to the global south, and in particular developing countries. And obviously, as the only member from the African continent, we have an obligation as South Africa to ensure that Africa's own development trajectory finds expression to BRICS. The second issue, Honorable Chairperson, Comoros has assumed the chairpersonship of the African Union during this 2023. And one of the key policy priorities for the African agenda for 2023 is to accelerate the implementation of your African Continental Free Trade Agreement. We do envisage that there will be a deepening of partnership between BRICS and Africa that will realize and enable mutually beneficial opportunities towards increased trade, investment, and infrastructure development under the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Musanya, it's your time.
Thanks, Chair. Mkhonto will take it on behalf of Honorable Musanya.
Proceed.
Minister, Deputy Minister, there is a major global realignment taking place at the moment, with the war in Ukraine being the most serious indicator of just how far the US is prepared to go to assert its imperial aspirations in the world. What practical steps is BRICS going to play in protecting its members from the imperial bullying of the US, especially and in relation to the war in Ukraine and the US interference in Taiwan? What are the most immediate steps that BRICS can take to end the war in Ukraine, as well as to end US provocation of China and Taiwan? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Proceed. Deputy Minister.
Yes, thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I think members, I think what is a very important foundation point is what is South Africa's policy position in relation to the People's Republic of China as it relates to Taiwan is concerned, and the challenges in the Taiwan Strait, for example. I think what is evidently clear is that we do hold a one China policy. That holds for Taiwan, it holds for the issues of Hong Kong, etc. So I think we should be unequivocal about that. Importantly, Honorable Member, the United States of America holds the same view in terms of its foreign policy dispensation officially, that they do recognize also a one China policy. Obviously, in terms of actual programmatic implementation of their policy, we are not able to account on that. So secondly, I think what we have suggested is that as South Africa is that the importance and the centrality of multipolarity in contemporary world politics and geopolitical landscape is key and critical. We do recognize that there could be anxiety around the fact that you don't have one universal hegemon. So as we are speaking, the times and the epoch of a unipolar world, I think have bypassed us. We should obviously wholeheartedly endorse the issues of multilateralism, where you have a multi-plurality of key, what we call big powers in the world, and not necessarily one hegemon. Our official foreign policy obviously is that the USA is a strategic bilateral partner of South Africa. China is a comprehensive strategic bilateral partner of South Africa. And I think within that, we obviously seek to drive our foreign policy priorities and equally so advance
you.
our national interests. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We proceed to Honorable Sangwa.
Thank you, Chair. Deputy Minister, obviously at this point in time, it coincides quite strategically that South Africa on one hand is chairing BRICS, on the other hand, India will be leading the G20 initiatives for 2023. So then specifically, what broader collaboration is there between India and South Africa in these two strategic bodies for the year ahead to ensure that there is advancement of the developmental agenda specifically for Africa, but also on the other hand, selfishly for our country, for job creation, economic growth and development, so that young people in specifically in the technological spaces can get jobs. Thanks, Chair.
Honorable Somelang. Honorable Bridget. Bridget, please switch off. Mute. The Honorable, the Deputy Minister, I'm sorry for that.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I thought members, I think the important issue obviously is both developing countries. We do anticipate that there will be a common expression of interest in relation to India as a member of BRICS, advancing those areas that as BRICS individual partners that we are looking at. That includes obviously looking at global health infrastructure and what needs to be done for the developing world, including members of the G20. That includes obviously, Honorable Chairperson, being in sync with one of our key priorities for our BRIC chairpersonship. It's about strengthening your post-pandemic socio-economic recovery program and how to measure the fact that we have negated on the 2030 SDGs because of the COVID-19 pandemic. We do anticipate that there will be the question raised on developing finance for your less developed countries, your landlocked developed countries, and your small island developing states. And that includes obviously a substantive number of African states in regards to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We now move to the next question, which is question number 55, asked by the Honorable Hon to the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services. We'll allow the Deputy Minister to respond.
Thanks very much, House Chair. Government views sexual offences and all forms of gender-based violence in an extremely serious light. And as the Honourable Horn knows, there have been numerous interventions to prevent and combat GBV in all its forms. When the information was provided on the 80% backlog of sexual offences cases over a year ago, we were in the grip of COVID-19, which had a profound impact on the running of our courts and the finalization of matters. And this led to a historic backlog of cases. Let me just also say that a backlog case in the regional court is a case that has been on the roll for more than 9 months. But we're pleased to report that on the figures provided by the department, as of the end of January this year, the national sexual offences backlog is currently standing at 20.9%, with a further decline from the first quarter to the third quarter. And we're working at bringing it down even further to a national target of 15%. There are many reasons why cases are postponed. Obviously, load shedding, water outages, interpretation services, waiting for DNA reports, malfunctioning court equipment, absence of prosecutors, private lawyers or legal aid lawyers, and other factors. Some of these factors fall within the responsibility of our department, while others are the responsibility of other criminal justice stakeholders. All of these postponement factors are continuously being tracked and monitored so that appropriate interventions can be made where these factors are the responsibility of the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. And we are indeed improving. Just to say, I mean, the regional courts with the highest number of sexual offences backlogs are Wynberg, Paarl, Pretoria, Secunda, and Roodepoort. For example, to combat the challenges of load shedding and water outages, the department has introduced a national facilities project for the installation of inverters, generators, solar systems, boreholes, and water tanks in our courts. We've also requested that measures be put in place so that load shedding takes place outside court hours and court days, so as not to interrupt justice services. With regard to repairs to the SOS equipment, that's the equipment used in the sexual offences courts, a contract for the repairs of equipment of sexual offences systems was secured and specified turnaround times for repairs were set. Weekly progress meetings are held with the relevant stakeholders to manage all outstanding repairs. A number of interdisciplinary governance structures of court role players exists at different court levels to create an integrated response to the elimination of backlog cases of sexual offences in particular. Special attention is being given to provinces and specific courts with the highest number of backlogs. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. May I recognize the Honorable Hon?
Thank you, House Chair, and thank you, Deputy Minister. Deputy Minister, in addition to the information you have received, would you be in a position to answer as to the more than 50,000 cases on the backlog roll as at end of December 2021? How many were finalized with a verdict and how many were ultimately withdrawn in order to fix these figures, so to speak? And in addition to that, House Chair, would the Deputy Minister be in a position to inform us, given the fact that this government has, as he's indicated, made many bold promises about interventions, some of which have been proven to be empty promises, how far the regulations are in respect of the 3 GBV bills, which he and his government asked this Parliament to prioritize, which were signed into law end of January next year, and which his department promised that there would be a parallel process to develop the enabling regulations, because the only information the Portfolio Committee has received from the Deputy Minister and the Minister for months now is that these regulations are imminent. Furthermore, the annual performance plan of this government has indicated that 80 sexual offences courts would be designated as such. We still do not see any of them. How do you tie that in with the so-called interventions of this government? Thank you.
Honorable Deputy Minister, before you respond, honorable members, let us be very clear of what the rules expect of us during question time. Rule 1427 says that you cannot ask more than one question. Even though it's your prerogative, Honorable Deputy Minister, to respond, but you are safe, you can respond to one question.
Thanks. I'll try and do my best to all of them, but unfortunately the figures of the withdrawals is a new question. I don't have those statistics with me. But on the other issue of the implementation of the 3 GBV bills, 2 of the bills are operating and in effect: the Sexual Offences Amendment Act and the Criminal Laws Amendment Act. The one that is outstanding is the Domestic Violence Act. And in fact, regulations were tabled but then withdrawn. The problem is the issue of the online repository and that being ready or not being ready. There was meant to be an online repository of sexual offences orders, and that's been the complication. We will probably be asking for the implementation of that act, except the implementation of that clause, while we get things sorted out with the IT issues. On the issue of the designation of the sexual offences courts, the equipping of courts for sexual offences matters is being rolled out. That would be things like a separate testifying room, various services to try and reduce secondary victimization. The problem with the legal designation is that the definition, and this came to light later, it was not picked up by us or the portfolio committee. The definition of a regional court is the regional court of the whole province. So we can't designate a specific regional court place of sitting. It's got to be everything. And the regulations for what's to be expected at those courts have been gazetted, and those apply to specific courts. So in the Judicial Matters Amendment Bill, which is going to be tabled pretty shortly in Parliament, there is a change to that to allow
Honorable
places of
Deputy
sitting
Minister.
to be set. Thanks, Chair, for
Honorable
your
Deputy Minister.
indulgence. I was just responding to Honorable.
Yeah, because he asked many and you wanted to respond. Honorable Ministers and Deputy Ministers, according to Rule 1428, you have 2 minutes for the subsequent follow-up questions. Thank you. We proceed to the Honorable Ms. Nivo Drachen.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Deputy Minister, it's very encouraging to hear that the Minister of Police indicates that the DNA backlog has been reduced significantly and that this will contribute to the fast tracking of sexual offences, including rape. In addition to this development, will the department consider prioritizing finalization of sexual offences, including the possibility of special courts on this matter? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The Honorable the Deputy Minister.
Thanks, Chair. Well, look, we do obviously have special courts for sexual offences with special roles. So there is a prioritization, Honourable Member, of sexual offences cases. With regard to the DNA, there has been, as a result of the problems, closer cooperation between the SOCA unit, that's Sexual Offences and Community Affairs unit of the National Prosecuting Authority, and the Police Forensic Science Laboratory in terms of getting any outstanding reports. But they are quite happy with the relationship with the police currently, and I feel they are getting those reports. But definitely sexual offences matters are a priority and do get prioritized in our courts. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Briet, so opportunity.
Thank you, House Chair. Deputy Minister, the Paro Sexual Offences Court racked up a backlog of almost 200 outstanding cases between September 21 and May 22 due to the constant broken recording equipment. As you've mentioned, load shedding is further causing courts to be without electricity for hours on end. You've now also clearly mentioned what you are doing to end these crises, but what are the timeframes connected to these interventions, and by when do you foresee the backlog to be successfully addressed? I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable the Deputy Minister.
Yeah, the backlog, Honourable Member, the backlog differs from court to court. So, for example, I'm told that Polokwane Sexual Offences Court has a backlog of 1. So it really is an issue of intervening in specific courts. I didn't see Paris on the list of the top courts. I think the highest figure, which was for Wynberg, was about 190 cases. But we'd have to check on that. It's a pity that we weren't given advance notice of that. But basically what we are doing is monitoring what is happening in the courts, and that Honourable, I don't know if I can be protected. It's difficult talking
Honourable members, please.
Yeah, so what I was saying is we do monitor the courts, we do intervene, and sometimes different interventions are needed on a court-by-court basis. Thank you.
Thank you. The honourable members on this side, just don't entertain what is coming from the other side, because it disturbs the member on the podium when he has to give the questions. Honourable Swart.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, the ACDP
was concerned about the high levels with the backlogs of sexual offences, and we do welcome the reduction that the Deputy Minister alluded to today. Now, as he indicated, or as is common knowledge, one of the main causes was the DNA backlog, which has now been reduced from a staggering 241,000 to 1,600 cases, and that is indeed commendable. The question to the Deputy Minister is it expected that the DNA Act, which will be implemented this Friday, the 3rd of March, will assist in the apprehension and successful prosecution of particularly serial sexual offences, given that it's been a long time for this Act to be passed, but that it is eventually now being implemented this Friday? Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you. The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thanks, Honorable Swart. Yes, obviously increasing the number of people on the DNA database will mean that if they have committed other crimes, because the people being put onto that database are people in correctional facilities for committing other crimes. So once their DNA is taken in terms of the new Act, if their DNA is linked to any other crime, particularly a sexual offences case, it will then come up and they can then be hopefully prosecuted for that offence. So we are hopeful that it will lead to an improvement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, as per the ruling done by the House Chair Frolik, and in terms of Rule 144, 1A, the next question will stand over, which is question 21. The same as it will be when we get to question number 50. Those questions will stand over. For now, we move to question number 57, asked by the question number 57 has actually been withdrawn by the member, which is Honorable Heron. So we go to question number 29 to the Minister of Police, asked by the Honorable
Chairperson.
Oh, 23, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. We go to question number 23, which has been asked by, who was speaking actually? Who was, which has been asked by the Honorable Make to the Minister in the Presidency. You still have the podium for yourself. To be comfortable. Honorable members, as he comes in, you will remember that these mics, they are very short. When you have documents with you, it's not easy for you to speak. So you are allowed to use the podium, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thanks very much, House Chair. It's just that one of the trainings were given, ABC, is not to be in the same place at the same time. You must change places. The implementation of the recommendations of the high-level review panel is a matter that the Director General of SSA, upon her appointment, took it as a priority task to be implemented by the SSA top management under her direct leadership. It should be emphasized that the task of implementing the recommendations of the high-level review panel is seen by us as part of process, as part of services rendered by the agency and its culture of doing the work of the agency, rather than a once-off intervention informed by the desire to comply and to tick boxes. Therefore, the daily activities of SSA are taken into account consideration and implementation of the high-level review recommendation. The agency is constantly injecting the new blood through cadet program, which will bring in the new skills relevant to the fourth industrial revolution. The agency has also strengthened its recruitment and selection processes, as well as strengthening the already existing mechanisms to ensure career growth, development of members. SSA management is also on course towards professionalizing the agency and implementing financial management systems in line with the Public Finance Management Act, as well as the review of ministerial delegation of powers and directives. The agency has also revised its vision and mission statement. The new vision of the agency will ensure that it propels the agency into a future in which it is a provider of reliable and timeless intelligence for a secure South Africa. Notwithstanding, out of 73 recommendations of the high-level review panel, there are 39 recommendations that have fully been implemented and 7 which are ongoing. The Audit and Risk Committee of SSA, as well as Internal Audit Unit, continue to conduct oversight work and audit on progress made towards a high-level review implementation plan. On the expert panel report into the July 2021 civil unrest, it is important to mention that the recommendation should jointly be implemented by JCPS. To this end, there are 5 recommendations that will be implemented by SSA. I'm also happy to report that 4 of the 5 recommendations have been fully implemented. With regards to national early warning capability, the National Intelligence Coordinating, also known as NICOC, in its early warning systems continue to provide early warnings in order to avoid recurrence of the incidents of July unrest and other potential upheavals into the future. This is done in various departments with regards to working together with a number of government, various departments and structures. In terms of capacity in SSA, a high number of vacancies at senior management levels were filled, including Director General and DTG's posts. The filling of vacancies at senior management levels has assisted in bringing the stability in the agency. The National Security Policy was presented to the National Security Council, which was re-established and which meets also every 2 months. On the matter of reorganizing the intelligence services, the General Intelligence Laws Amendment Bill was finalized and will be presented to the JCPS before it's presented to Cabinet. One of the objectives of the bill is to establish and fit-for-purpose domestic as well as foreign branch. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. The Honorable Make.
Thank you, Chairperson. Just a follow-up question, Honorable Deputy Minister. In relation to injecting new blood in the agency, it is understandable that the cadets will bring new skills relevant to the 4th Industrial Revolution. But what happened in the past has taught us what is lacking more, which is patriotism, the love for one's country. How does the Deputy Minister or the Minister intend instilling patriotism in the agency, especially in the new recruits? Thank you, Chairperson.
Raleboga, Deputy Minister.
Thanks very much, Chair, and thanks very much to the Chairperson of the JSI. The Intelligence Academy has developed a program called National Security and Intelligence Management. One of the modules of this program is called Articulation of National Security Quintet. The National Security Quintet has the following: national identity, national values, national interest, national power, and national will. Further, the philosophical framework, on the other hand, is a bond that ties everyone and everything within the Intelligence Academy. It is about a set of principles, values, standard practice, and ethical codes applicable to the workforce inside the Intelligence Academy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Inkosi Kebekulu, through you, Honorable Shangwa.
Ngiyathokoza kakhulu, Sihlalo. Honorable Deputy Minister, the report, of course, has got a host of recommendations, and much of them also are dependent on functionality in infrastructure of the agency, including but not limited to access to electricity. What is the impact of load shedding and the implementation of this plan? and what plans are in place to mitigate against this risk, which will be with us for quite a while, also in the absence of the appointment of the much awaited Minister of Electricity. But there's a fundamental and substantive risk on the training, on the 4IR capabilities that you want to build up. So what is the impact of load shedding, and what confidence do we have that the plan will be successfully implemented, noting that fundamental risk? Thank you, Chair.
You have asked 4 questions. Proceed, leave them, Deputy Minister.
Thanks, Chairperson. I will only answer one question. That one question, I think is at top of the national threat picture, which we presented in another committee, the issue about energy security. The issue about energy security to us it has reached a point of being a national security. Our participation with NECOM and a number of structures that are dealing with issues of load shedding at ESCOM were at the center as a state security. For an example, there's a committee that we deployed at ESCOM to deal with these issues since last year, December, to specifically deal with issues of sabotage, to deal with issues of corruption within the supply chain, to make sure that the issues as raised by a number of other reports about the issues at ESCOM will help the country to restore and make sure that the generation and transmission, we have lowered and reduced the levels of load shedding in the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now we go to the Honorable Mazzoni.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Deputy Minister, you see I stand as you have stood for us. I'll show you respect. We now know that this famous report has been released, but let me quote from this particular report. We record that while security services informed us about intelligence reports they had produced and submitted to various clients, we did not have sight of these classified documents. Minister, therefore, these reports lack critical information to provide the necessary information that are in fact going to be used to stop future unrest. Therefore, my question is this: when items are in the public domain and fall within public interest, certainly we must now put pressure on SSA to break these silos that have been created. One of them, so obviously now by Arthur Fraser starting a court case himself against the government and against the sitting president, certainly given the fact that the report states that they could not see information because it was classified.
Your time is up, Honorable Mazzoni. Your time is up. Honorable Deputy Minister.
One of the things we always avoid as an agency is a distraction and to discuss intelligence matters in the public. And some of the distractions will be people taking the agency to court, that we must go and ventilate those issues in court, which by their very nature are operational matters. We will respect the craft itself, because the craft does require that we must respect. It's one of these methodologies. And therefore, I will not venture too much to the question you're raising, except to say we remain focused on our work as defined in terms of our doctrinal shift of what we need to do, the collection and providing and share intelligence with the relevant law enforcement agencies. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next follow-up is Honorable Ndlozi. Is it you, Honorable Mkalipi?
Yes, Chairperson.
Proceed.
Deputy Minister, how many senior officials have been, 1 fired, 2 reported to the police, 3 held accountable for intelligence failures, corruption, since this high panel review report on SSA? How many specific, Chief?
Proceed, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Given the seriousness on some of the allegations that came through the Zondo Commission, we have now inside Musanda, we have IT, we have an office of IT instead of them being outside, so that the exchange of documents, which sometimes may be very complicated in terms of the requirements of the Intelligence Service Act, we take it very seriously. There are a number of cases that we opened with police, a number of cases that are before Hawks, there are a number of cases that are that with the NPA. And we hope that the progress will be made soon. We hope that the work that the ID is doing internally will help to facilitate and fast track expeditiously some of the issues that came from the Zondo Commission. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Person.
Honorable Shengwa,
No, Chair, this is on a separate matter, Chair, if I may crave your indulgence.
what is it?
If I may crave your indulgence, Chair.
No, no indulgence. You either
Well, on the
rise
point
on
of
a
order,
point
Chair.
but it must be a point of order.
Yes, Chair, it
Proceed.
is, because I'm not one to entertain petty inferences in this house. But for the record, the presiding officers know that when we are in this venue, I do not stand for questions or in addressing the mic because I'm not audible. And the inference that has been made that I'm speaking out of disrespect by
Oh,
not standing
okay.
is wrong.
No, I understood
We
why
are
you are
Zazushi.
seated and
Thank you, Chair.
we did agree previously, honorable members, that you may be seated. Please don't take your discussions that you have there, I don't hear, and then you bring it to us. No, please, as a belief, wag. We proceed now, Honorable Deputy Minister, the questions for you are done.
Thank you very much.
We now move to question number 29, asked by the Honorable Shembeni to the Honorable Minister of Police. The Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister of Police.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. We are
Thank you.
here. We are here to answer the question asked by the Honorable Member. The Minister of Police did not authorize the entry of the South African Police Service members into the joint sitting of Parliament during the State of the Nation address on the 9th of February 2023, in accordance to the National Key Point Act 1980, Act number 2 of 1980. Any national key point should have a protection force. Therefore, the National Parliament of the Republic of South Africa is protected by the SAPS. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. The Honorable Shembeni.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Minister. There are numerous court judgments that speaks to the sanctity of Parliament and how this institution must never be used by executive to assert their powers and to refuse to be held to account. These judgments are specifically against having members of South African Police Service enter the parliamentary chamber to remove or arrest members of parliament. South African Police Services breached these laws on the 9th of February and had armed men enter the chamber to remove members of parliament. If you did not order this, what action have you taken to hold those who ordered police entry into the chamber accountable for their actions? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Shembeni. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. As Honorable Member Shembeni specifically refer the decisions of the court. I don't think that the decisions of the court, they're about the Constitution unless they order the change of the Constitution. The standing authority of the members of the South African Police is derived from Section 205, subsection 3 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. That's read. The object of the police service are to prevent, combat, and investigate crime, to maintain public order, to protect and to secure the inhabitants of the Republic and the property, and to uphold and enforce the law. The police can explain later, but if one of these things is happening, their authority is derived from the Constitution. that they must act as such if somebody has some answers late. So this is instruction standing authority. According to the police decision, they felt that one of these, they had to respond. It was based on the 205 sub 3 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you. The next follow-up, Honorable Molekwa. Yes.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson. Can the minister elaborate more on the cooperation between the SAPS and the Parliamentary Protection Services? Are there any significant challenges that hampers effective cooperation and coordination of security-related services rendered on the parliamentary proceedings or extension thereof between the SAPS and the Parliamentary Protection Services? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister.
Chairperson, the responsibilities for Parliamentary Protection Services to respond. But beyond that, it's a responsibility of the South African Police Service to act and intervene in whatever level, so long is within the Republic of South Africa. They might be invited. They might see to it that it has gone beyond the powers of the Parliamentary Protection Service, and as such they act. There is nothing wrong that stops them to act until something happens. Is exactly the point I make, that if that's the way they see things, they can answer later, but the Constitution instructs them to act as they are acted, together with other agencies, including the Parliamentary Protection Services. Thanks.
Thank you. Honorable Whitfield.
Chairperson, I'm taking the question.
Proceed, sir.
Minister, on the 9th of February, the EFF illegally stormed the stage, but they only, no, listen. They only displayed posters. Minister, why did the SAPS find it necessary to deploy armed police officials in Parliament during the joint sitting, in contravention with the rules?
Order, members.
And what security risk occurred but the Parliamentary Protection Services were unable to quell? Who approved this? Is there somebody? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Chairperson, I have read the authority where the police they've derive their authority of doing it. It's section 205 sub 3, if the member can continue to read that. But on what said that nobody was armed, the Parliament of the Republic of South Africa does have a history of where the Prime Minister was killed in the House. So the supposed to be proactive of the police that happened on the day should be part of the prevention and protection of the inhabitants, as that is instructed by the Constitution. Who instructed it, I repeat, is a standing authority derived from the the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa for the police to act on these matters as they have been read. That authority on that particular day was derived from there. Besides that, Parliament itself is a protected area because it's a key point. All key points, they are protected, and there must be a response should be anything that comes close in any form of giving the intention of there might be a problem in that particular institution. That's what happened on the particular day.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The Honorable Majosi. Honorable members.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Minister, in what framework what is the framework in place in the Department of Police which allows the speaker to call on South African Police Service members without your involvement? I'm a member of the committee. I would like to, for you to quote me in what framework does it allow in the Department of Police that the speaker can call on the SRs?
Thank you. The Honorable, the Minister.
Well, Chairperson,
Thulani, sifuna ukumuzwa sonke uMinister. Thulani.
Chairperson, the House has got its rules. And those rules, whether they are parliament, whether they are judiciary, whether they are concord, they are overruled by the Constitution. I repeat, this is derived from the Constitution. Nobody, either all the three, what you call the state, that is your government, that is your judiciary, that is your parliament. Nobody there can be above the Constitution. That is derived from there. But also, Chairperson, it must be explained that the instruction of operations does not come from the Minister of Police. It comes from the National Commissioner of the South African Police, and the Minister oversees and directs. Those rules of the Parliament will be there, but they cannot surpass, they cannot be over and suppress the authority of the Constitution. I repeat, this was derived from the authority of the Constitution, 205 subsection 3. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. That was the last follow-up question to this question number 29. As we proceed now, we go to question number 24. I don't see the Deputy Minister. Justice and Correctional Services. Oh, there are two of them. What happened? It's because of the question that we skipped. He thought maybe he will. Okay, I'm going to pass and come back to this question just for the sake of time. We'll now go to question number 38. Asked by Honorable Hendricks to the Minister of Home Affairs. The Deputy Minister, you may proceed.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. The Department of Home Affairs would like to provide services to South Africans 7 days a week. Hence, we are currently drafting new legislation that will regulate conditions of employment for our employees and open daily, except on public holidays. This will also cater for learners and workers who will ordinarily not be able to get time off from work to visit Home Affairs services. The mobile units are being sent to far-flung areas to service citizens per province following a deployment plan and also a high-impact program where there's a huge number of people who are undocumented. And to do this, we have grown our mobile units from 100 in the previous financial years. We added 10 in the other financial year, 20 just this past financial year, and another 100 that we're introducing in the current financial year. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Hendricks.
Thank you very much for that very positive response. As you know, Honorable House Chair, the Independent Electoral Commission is busy with a project to target young people to register as voters. And one of the problems that they're experiencing is that young voters, and there are millions of them, don't have an ID book. So we welcome this, but we would like to know from the Minister if there can't be a targeted approach. If the Minister, for example, can say that they will target 100 schools in so many days and they will register so many learners to get their ID documents. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. We already have a targeted campaign to ensure that we go to schools and register young learners from the ages of 16 for them to get their documentation. The minister has delegated this function specifically to myself. But we do not just only go to schools. We have a youth in the Department of Home Affairs that takes time during weekends to volunteer time to register those young people. We are currently drafting a targeted campaign to make sure that all the learners receive their identity documents when they turn 16 years, and also to make sure that it assists for the purposes of registering to vote and increasing the numbers that are required by the IEC.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. The next follow-up will come from the Honorable Tito.
Okay, in case she has some network problems, the whip is here. Deputy Minister, I don't know why you're in the podium. Let me just take it for Honorable Tito. Yeah, I'm in charge. So Minister, these suggested measures for opening on weekends, while noble, will not resolve the central problem with Home Affairs. The central problems relates to ICT challenges and corrupt officials. And this leads to excessively long queues at your offices. By when will you deal with technical and staff problems that lead long queues at departmental offices?
Honorable GM.
Thank you. I'm in the podium because the minister had technical challenges, and because we work well together, I'm able to stand here and answer. The issues that we are dealing with when it comes to Home Affairs is that our challenges are not only ICT. We had a huge problem with regards to our staff complements and our COE cap. That issue has been resolved with Treasury, and that is why you will see quite a number of job adverts being advertised for Home Affairs, which increases our ground soldiers on the floor. We acknowledge that there will have been delay as a result of manual records, hence the project announced by the president on the digitization that is resulting to the employment of quite a substantial number of young people is going to contribute in dealing with our problems. We have gone in as far as ICT is concerned, looked at partnership with banks and other institutions that deal with data to help us resolve the issues at the back end of our system. We are already piloting something that will revolutionize how we offer services by modernizing a number of our offices that are currently on the legacy problem. That will change things around. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Akbara, let's Roos.
Deputy Minister.
Honorable Roos wants to pose a question. Can you please allow him?
Thank you.
Kanan.
Thank you. Deputy Minister, over 5 years after Home Affairs offices closed on Saturdays, there is no real progress on the promise to reopen them. Because offices are closed on Saturdays, people take leave to queue in the week, and even with a booking system, and hope that the system is not offline. If it is, then they take another day's leave. Weekend pay has been given as an excuse. But over time, and additional funding have been made available over the last few years for dealing with various backlogs and digitization processes at Home Affairs. So will the Deputy Minister come clean with the public and admit that he has no intention of reopening Home Affairs offices on Saturdays because you just don't care about the affected people?
Yes, proceed.
Actually, we do care quite a lot. 2 weeks ago, Honorable Ross, we were sitting down planning on how to open these offices on Saturdays. So we have not just committed, we have started a program of engaging labor, because this is a labor matter, that you cannot just take a decision without engaging labor. Hence, we are engaging labor and we will continue to do so. And very soon we will have the results, and then we will have something else to cry about.
Thank you. The last follow-up question, Honorable van der Merwe.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson. Deputy Minister, you just spoke about expanding the access to documentation for South Africans, but with more IDs come more fake IDs. And the fact of the matter is your department is crippled with corruption. The presidency recently revealed that more than 40,000 fraudulent IDs were used to renew vehicle licenses. But this is just the tip of the iceberg because we know that far too many non-citizens are carrying fake South African documents. So, Honourable Minister, in relation to first-time identity card applicants, what measures are your department going to take to ensure that there's no opportunity for fraud or corruption when these documents are issued? And what are you doing in general to ensure that you identify and deal with the prevalence of fake IDs in circulation? Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Deputy. Nieman, what does that know? Ma'am, ay nyan ba wakwanjes?
No, thank you very much.
There is a rule about gestures for this house. I have been seeing that hand and that finger for too long. Please. You may proceed.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. We have had problems in the main with the green barcoded IDs, which were easy to fraud and easy to, fraud. Let me just say, put it that way. But with our smart ID cards and the technology that we have invested in it, it makes it very difficult. We understand that there has been instances where our passports have been defrauded, but mainly in collaboration with the people who work for Home Affairs. And that is why we had the unit of counter-corruption and fraud to deal with those apples amongst us who are rotten. And that unit has actually proven to be successful with the operations that we've all seen in the media, arresting people who have been assisting people to get wrong identification. But our smart ID cards are safe, and we can guarantee them that they will continue to be safe for a longest of time. They also adhere to international standards. With regard to the backlog of those that got their identity, as soon as we migrate everyone to the smart ID card system, all those that got their documents fraudulently in the form of green barcoded IDs will eventually fall off. So it's going to be a gradual exercise. But our commitment to fighting corruption and fraud within the department has proven to yield results through the operations that we've been running, which I'm sure all of us have seen. Thank you.
You may take your seat, and I will allow the Honorable Deputy Minister Jeffrey after this question. No, you proceed, Honorable Member. It's still your question that follows. Honorable Jeffrey, you'll come after Home Affairs is done because they had followed one another. We are now on question number 14, Honorable DM,
No,
asked by the Honorable Molekwa.
Thank you very much, Chair. The Zimbabwean exemption permit was given for Zimbabwean nationals who were in South Africa illegally, but could prove that they have a job, are studying, or running a business. It was a special permit which was issued because most of the people affected had applied for asylum, but the numbers were so huge such that they were overwhelming the system and we could not process them using ordinary legislation. 2 countries were also issued special permits for the same reasons. This was Angola's special permit, which has since been terminated. We also had the Lesotho special permit, which will expire on the 31st of December 2023. Those are the only other 2. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Molekwa.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable DM, what are the implications should the deadline not be met? Thank you.
Honorable DM.
we have given an opportunity for the holders of the Zimbabwean exemption permit, what is known as ZEPs, to apply for alternative visas. Those who do not do so by the deadline will have to voluntarily go home or face deportation, as they will not be having legal papers to stay here.
The next is Honorable Kanyile.
Thank you, Chairperson. Deputy Minister, essentially the ZEPs were issued as Home Affairs could not process the number of refugee applications at that time. Nothing much has changed since then, with Home Affairs dragging its heels processing asylum applications. The Minister indicated in the Home Affairs Portfolio Committee meeting on the 18th of February 2020 that Home Affairs will clear the 68-year refugee appeal board backlog in 4 years. With only 1 year left to clear this backlog, what is the progress and by when will this backlog be cleared?
Thank you, Honorable Diam.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I must make one thing absolutely clear. It is not everyone who applies for asylum who actually qualifies for asylum. The large spike that we faced, which resulted in us being inundated with applications, were in the main economic migrants who in some way wanted to abuse our asylum seeker regime. We are now in a project that we are running with UNHCR to clear that particular backlog. Part of the reason why we then had the ZEP is because we could identify that others do not qualify for asylum or refugee status. Hence, we then had this special permit, which was called the ZEP, which is now coming to an end. Thank you.
Thank you. The next follow-up, Honorable Kalibi.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Deputy Minister, how many permanent residency visas have been issued to Americans and Europeans? And when arriving in South Africa, they get visas on arrival for how many months? Uba lot what when I'm talking? I'm not talking to you. I'm asking a question here to the Deputy Minister.
Honorable Diam.
No, thank you very much. I do not have the total number of Americans who have received visas. We are willing to provide that information to the House and give you the accurate numbers. But we do not apply any form of discrimination when we are vetting visas on the basis of where a person comes from. We looked at the requirements. If you meet the requirements, you then get access. The issue of the visas on arrival is part of what we are striving towards, because all global countries are moving towards this direction where it is easier to attract skills and easier to attract tourists into the country.
Thank you. Honorable van der Merwe.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, as I've said many a times before, the reality is South Africa faces a full-scale immigration crisis. There are millions of undocumented migrants within our borders who are not legally permitted to work or live here. And this department seems unable to address this crisis. To make this the matter worse, your own department, DM, recently revealed that up to 40% of visas issued by your department have been fraudulently issued, whether work, residency, investment, study permits, up to 40% of them are fraudulently issued. So Honorable DM, what progress, if any, have you made since the tabling of this visa fraud report more than 7 months ago to deal with deep-rooted corruption within your department? And how far have you gone in revoking some of these visas that have been fraudulently issued by your own officials working with syndicates? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The immigration crisis is not a problem of South Africa. It is a global problem. If you look at the global risk report, it places immigration at the top 10 of both immediate and long-term risks that the globe will have to deal with. If we come to South Africa, we acknowledge that we did expose corruption that was happening within the visa offices. And we dealt with that. And as I'm speaking to you right now, there are officials who are sitting at home because of the action that we had taken. And beyond that, we have made sure that we recapacitate the department. Currently, as I'm speaking, we've added about 18 other visa adjudicators, fresh, and one of them is underwaiting vetting. All the other ones have gone through vetting. So we are taking the issue serious and we are dealing with it. Part of the reason that we had the visa backlog that we're complaining about is because we had to recalibrate our systems in order to be corruption proof so that we can know that the visas that we're issuing are legitimate.
Sithokoze mhlonishwa, isitulo ngasishiya manje sekuphelile ngakwa. Thank you very much. Order. Thank you. Order. We now, honorable members, we now on question 24. As the Honorable Deputy Minister had gone out, Honorable Deputy Minister to Honorable Maseko Jele.
Thanks, House Chair. My apologies for stepping out when things moved faster. But the question is on the Witness Protection Unit, and the review of legislation pertaining to whistleblower protection encompasses the current legislation on witness protection. As part of our review, we've identified immediate measures to address capacity challenges. The appointment of the head of the Witness Protection Unit is receiving our attention. The Witness Protection Unit has a current vacancy of 17%, which is above the acceptable level of vacancies in the public service, which is 10%. And there's a recruitment drive in process. The budget of the Witness Protection Unit requires supplementation in order to ensure that the unit delivers on its mandate. The budget allocation to the NPA will include a portion of these funds for the Witness Protection Unit, with the budget allocation being 805 million over the MTF period, which includes an additional budget allocation of 72 million. An additional request for CARA funding in the amount of 150 million over the MTF period is being prepared for consideration. These allocations will assist in the capacitation of the Witness Protection Unit, and upon completion of the legislative review, which will be costed, further requests may be made. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Maseko Jele.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you, Deputy Minister. The protection of whistleblowers requires collaboration with the police.
If you can just put the mic, yeah. Don't look at him, just concentrate.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I was saying the protection of the whistleblowers requires collaboration with the police. So my follow-up question would be, what are the engagements, if any, with the police to strengthen the protection of whistleblowers? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Yeah, the Witness Protection Act is about witnesses. So those are people who are going to be testifying in court, in tribunals, commissions of inquiry, that kind of thing. And it is up to the prosecution to decide whether the person should be put on the program. It's quite onerous because the program entails effectively relocation. You move out, you're no longer at your address. And it's something that many people don't want to do. So the gap, as I would see it, is in the issue of protection for people who don't want to be on the program, which currently would be provided for by police, I think, after a security assessment. But that is where things need to be strengthened with the police. But as far as the witness protection program itself, maybe just to say that in the first 3 quarters of the year, there were 327 witnesses on the program, together with 254 associated people, that would be family members, etc., of the witnesses. Currently, the numbers have gone down to 199 witnesses and 163 associated persons. So that gives a sense of the numbers of people on that program. But the problem is that it's not suitable for everybody. It means leaving your current position and relocating. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Breitenbach, it's your opportunity now.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. Honorable Deputy Minister, the pity that your minister yet again couldn't make it. Of course, it's important that we embark on a review aimed at the fortification of our anti-corruption legal framework. The need to better protect whistleblowers is much more urgent than for it to be handled as a broad review, which in your hands will take years. The original question of the Honorable Maseka Jele follows on a confirmation by the NDPP more or less a year ago already, that the NPA holds the view that a simple addition by way of regulations or directives to the mandate of the Witness Protection Unit can immediately enable better whistleblower protection. Why hasn't this been done?
Proceed, Honorable Jim.
As the honorable member would know, reviewing legislation is not an easy job. This House, in the last Parliament, passed an amendment to the Protected Disclosures Act. And now this issue is being raised of other aspects that should have been looked at, some that were considered at the time. So it's rather than doing it piecemeal, the issue is to do a broader review. And a lot of work has been done. There was a study trip that members of the NPA, officials from the Department of Justice, and I think I speak under correction, but also the police did to Canada, where, for example, they don't make a distinction, as I understand it, between witnesses and whistleblowers. They treat everybody the same. So it's an issue of looking at what is best to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Yako.
I'll assist, Chair.
Thank you.
Deputy Minister, last year, Babita Deokaran was assassinated after she blew the whistle on the massive corruption that was taking place at the Gauteng Health Department. She is one of many who either lost their jobs or their lives after speaking out against corruption, particularly corruption that involves senior members of the ruling party. What assurances can you give to many who want to blow the whistle on corruption but are scared that they will be the next Babita and perish like her?
Honorable Jim.
It is important that people who have knowledge of crimes being committed, in particular corruption, do come forward, and it is important that they are protected. I don't want to go into the facts of Ms. Deokaran's matter, but she obviously wasn't. She was working with the SIU, and that is covered by the Witness Protection Act. But I don't know if the issue of relocation and going on that program was raised with her, but it probably would not have been what she wanted. The issue is ensuring that proper threat assessments are done and then that protection is provided to people. Thank you.
Thank you. There was no request for the fourth supplementary question, thus taking us to the next question. Thank you, Honorable GM, which is question number 17 to the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation by the Honorable Swart.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. To date, 54 African states have signed the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, of which 44 have ratified the said legal instrument, including South Africa. This is an outstanding achievement given the complexities of negotiating this agreement. This will bring about, honorable members, the largest free trade area, bringing together 55 countries of the AU and 8 regional economic communities, RECs. We are submitting that this accomplishment would not have been possible without the political leadership and commitments of heads of states and government of the AU, more specifically the support of those countries that have already ratified the agreement, including South Africa. South Africa will continue to utilize all statutory meetings of the AU, including the Council of Ministers of Trade, the Executive Council and Assembly of Heads of States and Government of the AU, to advocate for the early universalization of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement and to encourage those countries that have as yet to ratify the agreement to do so as soon as possible. Furthermore, South Africa will utilize her bilateral engagements to encourage those 8 countries that have not ratified the agreement to do so, including Madagascar, that remains the only country in the SADC region that are still to ratify the agreement. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The Honorable Swartz.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thanks, DM. DM, we're aware that there's an African Continental Free Trade Area Business Forum that will be taking place on the 16th to the 19th of April. Can the DM clarify that we'll be able to use this event in terms of advocating and lobbying other countries for the ratification? Thank you.
The Honorable Jim.
Yes, thank you very much. The AFCFTA Secretariat is organizing the first Tanjingi Pamoja African Business Forum, which is to convene from the 8th to the 10th of March. Some of its key priorities is creating awareness amongst the African business community of current business and investment opportunities, in particular, the matter of regional value chains. To provide a space for government, business and investor engagements to unlock trade and investment funding for priority value chains. 3, to advocate for supportive policies and investment for priority value chains. And 4, to engage on the One Trade House marketplace where announcement signings, investment pitches and partner booths for perfect integration will be realized. And lastly, Honorable Chairperson, to promote a business-friendly environment for SMMEs, women and youth empowerment. So substantively, those business forums will, amongst others, seek to heighten opportunity dividend from the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The Honorable Bergman. It's not working. Okay.
Thank you, Chairperson. I will take this question. Deputy Minister, if the African Continental Free Trade Agreement are fully realized, 50 million people could escape extreme poverty by 2035, and the real income could rise by 9%. Why has South Africa not done more to take—
Chairperson, sorry.
Yes, Honorable, so you can't hear, ne?
Yes, we can't hear him.
Yeah. Honorable, can you move closer to the mic?
Sorry, Chair,
Okay.
let me try again. Deputy Minister.
Can we restart the time, please? I wanted to come in and say, go to the mic, but I didn't want to disturb. So if the virtual platform members can't hear, then you have to redo it. Thank you.
Sorry, Chairperson. If the African Continental Free Trade Agreement are fully realized, 50 million people could escape extreme poverty by 2035, and real income could rise by 9%. Why has South Africa not done more to take advantage of the African Continental Trade Agreement, as intra-African exports could grow by 109%, led by manufactured goods? Why has our government still not used this as a game changer up to now? And what will be done, Minister?
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I think our view obviously is that the operationalization of the Continental Free Trade Agreement commenced on 1st of January. Our issue, obviously, Honorable Chairperson, is that South Africa has benefited since the minimum ratification. For example, we have given an indication during our SONA debate that historically, in 2021, we exported to the EU as a bloc 355 billion. And because of your African Continental Free Trade Agreement, we, for the very first time, that was in 2021, Honorable Chair, exported more to Africa than to the EU as a bloc. Our exports to Africa stood at 385 billion rand. Contrast that to our exports to the EU as a bloc, which stood at 355 billion rand. What I can tell honorable members here is there is a validation of the export figures along the same lines for 2022. And we do anticipate that we are going to economically leapfrog forward using the African Continental Free Trade Agreement as a catalyst to bring about inclusive prosperity for South Africans. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hlonishwa Hlengwa.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Deputy Minister, obviously the implementation of the free trade area means there's heightened movement of money. And we all know the problem that we have of money laundering, and then closer to home, South Africa has been grey listed. And so what does this mean now in terms of inspiring confidence as being a champion of the free trade area? And what measures are you contemplating putting in place to be able to deal with this particular dilemma that has beset South Africa? Because quite frankly, inaction does breed these kind of consequences. And now we're championing free trade as a grey listed country. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Proceed.
No, thank you very much, honorable member. I think, honorable members, our statement on the grey listing was unequivocal. We are committing as a government to respond to the deficiencies that has been identified, and we do anticipate that there will be cross collaboration by the various departments, including your Financial Intelligence Center, National Treasury, etc., including the Reserve Bank, to ensure that we come the next review period, that we are able to obviously conform to the requirement of the Financial Action Task Team. Obviously, the one important issue that we are engaging on is the role of the Pan-African payment and settlement system, because I think honorable members will appreciate that the Abuja Treaty have envisaged this Continental Free Trade Agreement, but it's ordinarily, it should have as its foundation also a Pan-African outlook in terms of your financial payment and settlement system. And that is obviously why the African Union and the Assembly in others actually confirmed that during 2023, we should do everything in our powers to accelerate the building blocks for the radical implementation of this Continental Free Trade Agreement. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There was no request for the fourth supplementary question. We now release you, Honorable Deputy Minister, back to your chair. Honorable members, before we get to the next question, the requests for follow-up questions were made up to question number 17 that we just did. So what is going to happen is that as they respond, we will take the first supplementary question because he's the person who asked the question, and we are going to allow members to, by show of hands, request that, and we will also consider those members that are on the virtual platform. Because the time for questions is 3 hours and we still have the whole 25 minutes. So you are right, Honorable Nzunza. It is question number 39, asked by the Honorable Ruos.
No, thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Yes, we did accumulate a lot of backlogs during the state of disaster, as some services such as applications for permanent and temporal residents were closed due to the fact that international travel was suspended. In addition, in order to adhere to COVID-19 regulations, we had to drastically reduce staff on duty to enable social distancing. This resulted to the backlog of 40,365 accumulating with us. Now, what is the plan to address this backlog? As I've indicated, because I think Honorable Ross thought we are not going to get to this question and asked it. So now I'm answering for the second time. We have appointed 19 additional adjudicators. 18 of them are started today. One of them is still undergoing vetting. However, they will spend the first 30 days mostly in training whilst assisting in order for them to be able to tackle the backlog. What we also did was to rope in managers from provinces who were mobilized to help with quality control. We are currently reviewing the immigration, permitting delegations, as well as the standard operating procedures. All those systems are in place in order for us to reduce the backlog.
Thank you. The Honorable Ruos.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. So in response to a follow-up to question 15 by Honorable Mulder, you stated that COVID is responsible largely for the visa backlog, but that's not entirely true, is it? In the Home Affairs Q1 and Q2 performance reports for the current financial year, after COVID, only 1 in 20 critical skills, business and work visas were adjudicated on time, a shocking total of 132 visas in 6 months. This pathetic performance is detrimental to foreign investment and skills attraction and is costing us jobs. For the second SONA in a row, President Ramaphosa once again announced the digital nomad visa and announced the DA policy of a points-based visa system to attract investment and create much needed jobs. What are your plans to urgently implement these job-creating visa categories?
The Honorable GM.
No, thank you. When we are dealing with a backlog, what you must understand, you prioritize those that came in first, and then those that came in last, they become last. So it becomes like a rolling ball. I think we can spend time, Honorable Ross, for you to understand how you actually deal with the backlog. And then the other issue I want us to venture into, is that as the Department of Home Affairs, we have 2 responsibilities. We don't just wake up in the morning and say everybody who has applied must get a visa. We have a responsibility to balance the security interests of this country with the economic interests of this country. By security interests, it means doing thorough checks and proper assessment of the applications that we receive. That is what allows us to be able to play that particular balance. And the additional stuff that we are putting up is primarily not just to deal with the backlog, but also so that in future, we can easily adjudicate. Some of the systems that we have put in place is the e-visa system, where we are continuously growing the number of countries that we are taking in through the e-visa system. So it is not true that we are not dealing with the issues and the commitments that have been made by the president. Thank you.
Thank you. The honorable members, do we have members on the virtual platform? Let's start there who have raised their hand. Don? Nobody. Any member? Yes, Honorable van der Merwe. That will be the second follow-up question.
DM, we spoke previously about the fact that your department has admitted that up to 40% of visas issued by your department are fraudulent. Have you suspended those visas that you have cited as possibly having been fraudulently issued, pending a review, or are those permits still active? Can you give us those details, please?
As and when we discover a fraudulent visa, we shut it down. Thank you.
Honorable Singh, actually, we had Honorable van der Merwe from the IFP. Can we get, unless there's nobody else, but we do have Honorable Chabani from the House.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Acknowledging that there are challenges on the backlog of what are the intervention plans and the budget allocated to respond to these challenges? Thank you.
GM.
Thank you very much. We are dealing with two sets of backlogs. The first one has to do with the refugee and asylum seeker regime. We are very grateful to the UNHCR that has given us access to funding and skills and competencies to deal with that particular backlog. As I've indicated on the visa regimes, we have the 18 staff that started today, but also our investment as allowed by the budget gives us space to increase our technological capacity to deal with the backlog and also advance in the future. Thank you.
Kunabantu abakhulumako ngibezwa ngihlezi la. Angifuni ukuzwa indaba zenu ngiyanibawa. Thank you. We proceed. The third follow-up question. Honorable Khoza, am I correct?
Yebo Somlo.
Thokoza, chokela.
Ngicela ukubuza la ungisekela lika Ngqongqoshe. Kunesinqumo la esisanda kuthathwa inkantolo ukuthi labashokobezi base Afghanistan enabanqamela ukuthi bangene la bangangena ngenkani. Uma inkantolo inquma ukuthi akungene abashokobezi la bazohlala ngenkani nibe ninqabile nina. What impact is that going to have on on state security if our courts can allow avowed terrorists to be forcefully accepted into South Africa against what you had decided as the department? Thank you.
Thank you.
Angikholwa lunga lihlokoniphekile ukuthi singavuka ekseni sibiza abantu ngabashokobezi singakaze sibacheke ukuthi bangabashokobezi, calling people terrorists without having information if they are actually terrorists. As a department, we respect decisions that are taken by courts of this country. The court says that we must allow them to apply for asylum, and we can follow that particular process where they apply. We also have an option of appealing. We are assessing our options, and as soon as we have assessed our options, we will then take the necessary action.
Sithokoze mhlonishwa. Sigcina past now. Yes. The next question is but we had four. We had four. Yeah, Mr. Singh, I know your hand was up, but we have already had four now, and your party was represented by Honorable van der Merwe.
No, thank you, Honorable
We
Chairperson.
proceed now to the next question, which is question number 27. Asked to the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation by the Honorable Msane. Question number 27. Are you ready, Honorable David? Okay.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. In regards to the question, the answers are follows. The monthly rental amount that DERCO is paying to the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure is 3237,637.11. The average monthly utility consumption for the premises paid by DERCO to the managing agent of the premises for the 2022-2023 financial year was 438,248. The DERCO's records reflect that we have paid an amount of 30 million to the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure in February 2009 for the Pan-African Parliamentary Project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The Honorable Msane, is it you? Oh, Honorable Koza, proceed.
Ngibonge, thank you very much. We wish to find out, Minister, as to why is this building or any
Umatumba. Hey, Honorable Matumba, please mute. Yeah, you may restart, Honorable Koza.
Thank you, Slalo. The question is, why, or is the department, why is the department not considering acquiring, as in purchasing, this building or any other similar building for that matter? Because if you compare rental over a longer period of time, it would cost more than you would have spent purchasing. Is the department considering, or why wouldn't the department consider purchasing a building? Thank you.
Thank you. GM?
No, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Obviously the pen holder on the acquisition of the assets, especially property, it remains the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. DERCO obviously is the department that interface on the policy imperatives of making sure that the commitments that we have made to have the Pan-African Parliament hosted by South Africa, that gets to be fulfilled. So what I want to suggest, obviously, Honorable Chairperson, is that the matter of the property modalities and the type of architecture that we must engage on to ensure that we are able to do good on our commitments. That is the issue, obviously, that our sister department, the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, could substantively respond to. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Table staff, do we have anyone on any hand on the virtual platform? Okay, Honorable Shengwa, you will follow Honorable Mbuyane.
A person.
Yes, it's fine.
No, Chair, DM, you have fought tooth and nail to host the Pan-African Parliament in South Africa as far back as 2010. It's 2023 when we are still renting. But on top of that, it just speaks to the integrity of the asset register of the department. New York is one example where you bought a building not knowing what's there and it was bungled by corruption. So ultimately, DM, what concrete plans are there to actually move out of renting and save the taxpayer 3.2 million rands per month that you're paying in rent? It's not sustainable. And from 2010 to date, the fact that there's no movement is indicative that you had no plan when you lobbied to host. It was a vanity project, as one colleague in the House has put it a few weeks ago. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable GM.
Yes, Honorable Chair, I think, let me just first indicate that the acquisition the process as it relates to the property aspect of New York did not have any corrupt act pertains to it. So there has been no criminal charges, there's been no assertion made in the public that there has been undue financial benefits to either a member of the Foreign Service or a public servant or the embassy in New York or any other, private person. So there has been absolutely no corrupt aspect that has been actually validated. What has happened, Honorable Chairperson, is that there has been subsequent investigations around the issues about irregular financial conduct. And I think the Minister, Dr. Pando, have subsequently reported, to the Portfolio Committee of International Relations and Cooperation in regards to that issue. I think what we are looking at, and we are taking it very well, the recommendation that we need to urgently engage in dialogue with Minister Delal to bring about a conclusion of a permanent infrastructure to host the Pan-African Parliament, having due regard for the economic consequences of continues to engage in a leasing process, as opposed to actually have a physical infrastructure actually owned by the Pan-African Parliament. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you. The Honorable Mbuyan.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chair, I just want to check with the DM. What is the value, I mean, as in benefits and also advantage of us as the Republic of South Africa for hosting the Pan-African Parliament? Thank you very much.
The Honorable GM. Can we hear the GM? Iweshe le iba iyakula, iweshe iyakula. Angazi velaphi, whips, help us. Can you restart the GM's time, please?
Yes, no, thank you very much, Honorable House Chair. I think we attach obviously greater significance to host PAP because of our Pan-African outlook, which is one of our key foreign policy priorities, Honorable Chairperson. But secondly, PAP is a platform for public representatives on behalf of the 55 AU member states to be involved in discussions and decision makings on the problems and challenges facing the continent. It's actually a mirror image of the South African Parliament at a broader scale, hosting obviously all 55 AU states. So I think it's a political incentive to issure the leadership role that South Africa continues to occupy in the African continent and in the world. It finds expression, obviously, Honorable Chairperson, to hosting of PAP, to hosting of the APRM, and through a number of chairpersonships that we host and that we are part of in the African continent and in the world. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. The last follow-up question, I'm not sure if it's Mr. Cuthbert or Mr. Chetty.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
Deputy Minister, clearly you and your department has not learned a lesson from squandering 118 million rand on the New York pilot project. The highly criticized New York pilot project pales in comparison to the proposed Pan-African Parliament project that costs us currently 3.2 million a month in rental. The current long-delayed infamous Pan-African Parliament building has already cost us 90 million rand, and that is excluding the 40 million rand a year rental for Gallagher Estates. Minister, with the current situation that South Africa finds itself in, we can ill afford this project anymore. Over R500 million has already been spent on rentals, and there's nothing more than just a barren piece of land to show thus far. Deputy Minister, we call upon your department to abandon this project and allow other member countries who are eagerly wanting to host PrEP in their countries to rescue us from this further embarrassment. And please, Deputy Minister, do not waffle on about how important and what prestige this brings to our country. For if it was that important, we have already had the building up and running in the first 5 years. Minister, this has now become a project to save face of ANC.
Time up. Honorable Member Chechi, your time has expired. You have only 1 minute. Can I allow you to ask the question?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Order, honorable members. You proceed, Honorable Chechi.
We believe that the project is now to save face of some high-ranking ANC leaders before their counterparts on the African continent for their failure to deliver on their mandate.
Honorable Chechi.
We call upon you.
Honorable Chechi.
And
Honorable Chechi. Honorable Chechi. You see now, Honorable Chechi, I gave you extra time so that you can ask the question, and still you don't, because your time had already expired. So please don't do that. Deputy Minister, was the question there? If there was, you may respond.
Honorable Chairperson,
Order, honorable members, order.
in plain English, he asks whether we are going to abandon our Pan-African outlook as South Africa. The answer is no. The future of South Africa is intertwined. It's intertwined to the future of the entire African state. The second issue that he have asked, are we going to continue to assume a leadership role in implementing decisions of the African Union Assembly? For example, one of the key protocols was the protocol to the treaty to establish the Pan-African Economic Community relating to the Pan-African Parliament. So in that respect, once again, we are going to confirm our eagerness to obviously prosecute our Pan-African solidarity using PAP, obviously as a key instrument in relation to that. The third question that he asked, Honorable Chairperson, he asked, are we going to be loyal to the optics of the predecessors of the OAU as it relates to the Abuja Treaty, as it relates to the Lagos Plan of Action? And the answer as it relates to that is yes. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you. Ministers have got 2 minutes to respond to the follow-up questions. So don't say aye. If he is prepared to answer those questions that are 3 or 4, it's up to the minister or the deputy minister. As a belief, Fumani Lab. Honorable Deputy Minister, we thank you. We proceed. Honorable members, that brings us to the wait, guys, wait. No hands. Honorable members, that brings us to the end of the business of the day, and the House is adjourned. Yeah, they know. I don't have to repeat that you have to wait for the maize. They know.
Long live Vice Chairperson.